Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. This is Tim, joined today by Julian, and these are our stories we'll be discussing today. Birkirkara residents warn of impending house collapse. Spas told to remain closed despite being classified as non-essential. The Giorgio brothers launch fresh requests for pardon. Man arrested for helping migrants enter Malta illegally, and Julie Zara warns youth social lives are shattered. So let's begin. Ju, there was an interview with Lovin Malta.
Yeah, sure. It was Lovin Malta's exclusive this morning. You can read all about it on our page. Essentially, an exacerbated Birkirkara family have warned that they are at risk of being burned alive due to nearby construction after structural and geological reports confirmed their grave suspicions. Now, in a case that has eerie similarities to Miriam Podge, the mother of two who actually died in a similar incident, Matthew Montebello told Lovin Malta how it's been weeks of him chasing authorities and spending actually quite a lot of money doing it to raise his concerns about the nearby development. He told Lovin Malta how his children are afraid to sleep and sort of how those fears are affecting him, right? You know, he can't, you know, the thought that his children could die in a construction accident like that has happened in Malta countless of times, you know, is really affecting him. Essentially, a geological and structural report found that the stone is at geo-risk level 1. Now, what that means is that sort of the type of rock is really susceptible to rock failure, particularly under strong excavation from a nearby development. The Montebello and his family were offered to relocate. It must be noted, to a different apartment for the time being. However, Montebello said, you know, the living conditions were filthy, you know, and no kind of place for him to live with his family. What's really concerning about the case, at least in my opinion, is that the developer is also the architect and also the site technical officer, creating a massive conflict of interest in sort of getting the work done as cheap as possible, and with the architects and site technical officers, you know, circumventing the strict regulations they're supposed to be under. In fact, the same report actually notes, you know, that part of the method statement, which was written by the architect and developer in question, were devoid of really essential facts, you know, about the development, you know, raising really concerns, a lot of concerns about the development. Once again, this has really eerie similarities to Miriam Podge, who sort of faced similar concerns. You know, her complaints were dismissed. How the architect was also the developer and had a very shoddy method statement as well. Just makes me question all of this reform. It means absolutely nothing if we're not going to enforce and actually, you know, and push through the change we want to see in the country. I don't know what you think about
this.
Yeah,
I was struck by the bit where he said he was offered an alternative accommodation, right? So, like, what do you mean offered an alternative accommodation? Because so someone is going to be destroying my house, and instead of stopping him, you offer me to move out of my own home and go somewhere I don't even want to live in. And what kind of logic is this? No, if it's a danger, the construction has to stop. I think what's also important about this story is that the importance of speaking up publicly and even putting your face out there sometimes. I mean, it's obviously many people will rightfully be anxious or scared to do so, because you'd often be facing quite powerful people, but sometimes, unfortunately, as a last resort, it is the most effective way of getting your voice across and trying to make change happen. Moving on to our next story, some confusion in Malta's COVID-19 rules again. So after spas were originally classified as non-essential, so non-essential services were allowed to reopen yesterday, as we know, and this incorporated a group of businesses including shops, hairdressers, tattooists, nail salons, and it also incorporated spas. So obviously spas were under the assumption that, you know, they could open again yesterday along with everyone else, but they were wrong, because apparently now they no longer fall under the crude non-essential category, but are something else. And the reason apparently is that the gyms that they have indoor pools, and gyms also have indoor pools, so they will only be allowed to reopen when gyms are allowed to reopen. I mean, I get the logic, but it's also, I mean, once again, zero communication at all for something and the real lack of concern for people's livelihoods, finding out on the day itself.
Yeah, no, it's so hard. And what bothers me is, this sort of arbitrary look at, right, like, oh, this place is really bad for COVID, this place isn't. So they're all well and fine, okaying harbour cruise boats, carrying 100 people, no social distancing being followed, but a spa, which is actually usually quite a quiet place, becoming apparently this haven for COVID-19. I don't buy it, and I think it's, as you're saying, unfair. I think there's small businesses who have been actually struggling really, really hard to make things meet. In some positive news about COVID, though, yesterday's numbers were really positive. There were just 15.
They were really negative.
There were 15 new cases, 58 new recoveries, bringing down the active cases down to 422. Really good number. And what's, I think, really even more optimistic, I suppose, is that yes, as of yesterday, 100,686 people have gotten the second dose of the COVID vaccine. That's 1 in 5 of Malta's population. Meanwhile, almost or a bit more than half have actually taken a single dose. Which is really good. We're coming closer and closer to herd immunity, and the results are already being felt, right? We're seeing deaths drop, and even the Good Samaritan Hospital, if I'm not mistaken, that was being used as a hospital during the pandemic, is now completely free of COVID patients, which is really, really, really positive. Onto our next story, a different kind of virus, I suppose. Alfred and George, the two brothers charged with assassinating Daphne Caruana Galizia, have launched a fresh request for pardon. Last week, Malta's cabinet rejected their request for pardon. However, they've decided to completely bypass that and write directly to the president. They say since cabinet members are directly involved in the allegations, then cabinet has absolutely no place making this kind of decision for them. However, just a little bit of I don't know how President George Vella might react. At the end of the day, he's a Labour Party figure, and I'm sure he'll hold Cabinet's opinion as sacred. Just a small reminder that the Georges are asking for a pardon for separate things. They're asking for a pardon to reveal another mastermind in the murder of Daphne Caruana Galizia, who they say was a sitting minister at the time. They're also willing to talk about thefts and homicides, some of which are linked to sitting cabinet members. Now, the Daphne Caruana Galizia family have been vociferously against giving them a pardon, and to be honest, I kind of agree, right? These two guys, are in effect admitting their involvement into the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia, thefts, other murders. It's absolutely unthinkable that somebody like this, after all the crimes they've committed, can simply walk free.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one though, because they obviously have a lot of information, definitely have more information than Vincent Koch has. They were quite in the know, and their information can, one would imagine, lead to more suspects being identified and arrested. And if these people are, as they're saying, powerful people who used to literally serve in cabinet, I think it's in the public interest to know. However, that being said, they did commit a heinous crime. Daphne Caruana Galicia's family is dead set against them being pardoned. And it's also quite telling, I think, that they've come out with this request very, very late in the day. So they were arrested 3 years ago, but now they're asking for a pardon. Like, why didn't you speak up earlier? You killed a woman, you put the country into such trauma, and you created all this chaos. So why are you speaking up now, coincidentally before your trial's just about to begin? So this is just another time-wasting exercise to get out of jail. That does seem suspicious. Our next story: an Egyptian man has been arrested for helping 8 migrants travel to Malta unnoticed. So this happened back in February, when police were surprised to find a group of migrants at Al-Apsi. Literally, they managed to come via speedboat, escaping all surveillance and all army vessels, obviously because a speedboat is very small, and it managed to get by with unnoticed. And these people managed to come all the way from Libya directly to Malta shores, and the migrants were actually on Malta and walking up, which make of that as you will. But if you're going to people view this as an invasion. I mean, these kind of scenes don't exactly combat that narrative. But this man has been arrested now, a few months later. It's also interesting because we don't yet know whether this man was among them, whether he was one of the migrants as well, who was fleeing, and the word trafficking is just being used in a legal sense, or whether he was trying to traffic them and then go back to Libya to get some more.
Yeah, what I think is actually really telling is that the man who was driving the boat was actually caught amongst the other migrants who were arrested, right? So there's some implication that he had no intention of leaving Malta, right? Once he abandoned his vessel and sort of left it there. What I think is quite interesting about it, right? I don't know about you, Tim, but for me, with this whole smuggling thing from Libya to Malta, usually all the blame is placed on Libya, but I'm pretty sure there are a few Maltese collaborators here on the island facilitating the human trafficking ring. As we know, there are already people in prison, in court, at the moment for fuel smuggling from Libya, from a lot of smuggling through Libya. I'm pretty sure human trafficking might have also been on some people's agenda. Just something else as well, a case like this maybe actually gives a hint that there are actually undetected numbers, right, coming into Malta. So not only the numbers we see, maybe the police could actually look into whether there's somebody on the inside helping them out. Because, right, as you said, they managed to get past all the detection right into Malta. On to our last story, Julie Zara, one of the PN's newest candidates. You may know her from her Eurovision past. Actually had a really interesting interview with you, Tim, on Lovin Malta. And at a point, she sort of discussed how, the national focus needs to be put on the mental health of youths, right? She said sort of young people's lives have been shattered by COVID-19. It's a period where your social life really starts to come to fruition, whether it's at university, whether it's going out. It's a really crucial time of fun and exploration, right, during that period. And for them, it's been completely lost, staying at home all the time, not really being able to do anything. I think it's a really important discussion, right? It's something that we've sort of brushed a bit to the side, right? The mental health issues, not just from COVID, but in general about it. Bernard Gregg, on another note, has said that the PN is looking at a mental health strategy. He didn't really get into details, so far saying it's just going to be bigger than just like a Mount Carmel refurbishment. You interviewed Zara, and Tim, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think she raised an extremely important point that hasn't been brought enough, in my opinion, throughout the pandemic. So these are people who practically lost their entire sixth form experience. So they had to spend their entire sixth form experience just behind their computer online. And that's a great part of our lives, and they've completely lost it. And obviously, yes, you can imagine that their mental health won't be great, right? You're losing out on such a key moment in adolescent life. And not only that, but I feel there's another issue with that when they complain about it, they're just told that they should be thankful that they haven't got sick with the virus and aren't in ITU. So not only have they been dealt this blow, but not even allowed to complain about it. So there's this double problem, and yes, it is time not only to speak about it, but also to properly address it. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Lovin Daily. Just a reminder that we've launched a service called Lovin Digest, where you can subscribe on our homepage to find out to get a digested version of the latest news stories every day directly in your inbox. And just there's more details on lovinmalta.com and to find out more. And that's it for today. Make sure you follow lovinmalta.com for all the latest updates. There's going to be a press conference by the Prime Minister today, which we're going to be following, where he's expected to announce some kind of measures to help businesses. I suppose who's going to be Miriam Dalli, the Enterprise and Energy Minister, will be addressing it with him. So hopefully there'll be some light at the end of the tunnel for all these poor businesses who had to really sacrifice a lot throughout the pandemic. And that's it, and have a day full of loving.